On this episode of China Uncensored, China's People's War on Terrorism expands to Afghanistan. Hi, welcome to China Uncensored. I'm your host, Chris Chappell. Okay. Let me just clear something up. Just because you see military vehicles doesn't mean you're looking at the military. You see, in November, an Indian publication released these photos from the little Pamir region along the border between China and Afghanistan. Okay. Let me just clear something up. Just because you see something that looks like a Hummer, that doesn't mean it's a Hummer. That's actually a Chinese-made Dongfeng, Eastern Wind, a knockoff of the American Hummer. So, is the Chinese military patrolling in Afghanistan? No, don't be silly. According to that spokesman, they were Chinese police. Military vehicles? Not military. Of course, as the Financial Times points out, the spokesman also denied there were ongoing non-military patrols along the Afghan side of the border. The Afghan side also denied it, so I'm not sure what to say about those Chinese military knockoffs patrolling along the border. Though the think tank Central Asia Caucasus analysts say the statements of eyewitnesses, diplomats, and an unnamed Chinese official made for overwhelming evidence that they were Chinese troops. But we could argue back and forth all day over whether Chinese military vehicles patrolling Afghanistan constitute some form of military or non-military patrol, which it isn't. Anyway, the Wakhan Pass is a narrow strip of territory that borders Pakistan, Tajikistan, and connects to China's western Xinjiang region. You might be wondering, why the weird shape? Well, in the 19th century, the British and Russian empires were fighting over Afghanistan, a tradition that countries still carry on to this day. The Wakhan Corridor was a territorial agreement between the two to separate what was then British India and Russia. A sort of, okay, you two, go to opposite sides of the room. Just one of the many fun decisions foreign countries have made about Afghanistan. And now, China. China-Afghan ties have been warming for a while now. And I'm not just talking about Afghan girls learning Chinese kung fu. For example, in 2015, the Afghan government arrested Chinese Uyghur Muslims and sent them back to China in exchange for China's help talking with the Taliban, proving China's commitment to fighting terrorism. But China may have legitimate concerns about Islamic extremists entering China. According to the Chinese regime, the Turkestan Islamic Party, headquartered in Afghanistan, has conducted terror attacks inside China. But they probably aren't getting through here. Crossing from Afghanistan to China at this border point is almost impossible. According to the Central Asia Caucasus analyst, the High Plateau of the Little Pamir can only be reached by vehicle from Tajikistan, as mountains without roads block the access for vehicles from the Afghan and Chinese sides. So that means even these Chinese military vehicles, which are absolutely not part of the military, must have gone through Tajikistan to get there. Which makes sense because China and Tajikistan also have a military relationship. There are also no footpaths, and those border mountains reach as high as 16,500 feet. So probably terrorists are not streaming through there on their way to China. China is also pursuing big economic deals in Afghanistan. According to China's state-run Global Times, the corridor has huge importance geopolitically and geoeconomically, as it allows China to access a treasure trove of mineral deposits. The promise of Afghan mineral deposits. Like this copper mining operation that unfortunately has all these pesky ancient Buddha statues that simply must go. So it's weird both sides are being so cagey about whatever kind of patrol this was. In July, China gave military aid to Afghanistan, a first. A month later, China joined Afghanistan, Tajikistan, and Pakistan in the Quadrilateral Cooperation and Coordination Mechanism. It was a military cooperation agreement dressed up like an anti-terrorism agreement. And the source that spoke to Central Asia Caucasus analyst said the countries conducted patrols on an almost weekly basis, and then suspended them. I mean, these patrols were definitely happening. I mean, we have the pictures. So why the denial these drills ever happened? Does this mean the Afghan government is lying? Or worse, did the Afghan central government simply not know what is happening in its own borders? That's not too far-fetched. In theory, local officials could have authorized it on their own. This is a pretty remote region. This all comes at a time when U.S. presence in Afghanistan is waning. President Obama withdrew nearly all U.S. troops by the time he left office. So is China trying to fill a power vacuum left by the U.S.? Is the Chinese regime simply seeking to protect its growing business interests in the country? Or are they concerned about terrorists entering China? If that's the case, why the patrols in the middle of harsh terrain where it's virtually impossible to cross into China? But just a word of warning to China. Don't start leaving your troops in Afghanistan. It's probably not going to end well. What's that, Shelley? Or I guess you could just leave troops in Afghanistan forever. So what do you think about the mysterious appearance of Chinese military, or police, or whatever, in Afghanistan? Leave your comments below. Thanks for watching this episode of China Uncensored. Once again, I'm your host, Chris Chappell. See you next time.